Welcome to ShiftWatch. I'm your host, Starbuck. In this episode, I'm compelled to keep pushing out this timeline for my transmissions with Yedamaya, indicating a 2-year window to get to as many places on the planet and touch as many humans, open to the prospect of preparing for this imminent shift in the planet's consciousness. We're fast approaching the conclusion of that window, and I'm paying attention to all the physical signs pointing to that reality because here they come. Next, speaking of physical signs, seismic tremors beneath Lake Tahoe are swarming in ways that are highly unusual, and historically, we are considerably overdue for a significant earthquake in this area. The Earthmaster brings us an update. Then, it was no coincidence that David Wallace had posted the result of some scientific details on the processes of how they find contactees. Here is that presentation for your consideration. And finally, of course, Dave Wallace's quick post on CLPT, CLPF made me go back to his part 3 of 4 for a refresh of the information. It's almost like it's time to harvest the seeds he planted with others over a year ago when he first presented it to us. Often lately, I hear from someone who's recently showed up to rejoin the tribe after hearing something I said or posted a few years back. So this is from Dave's 4-part series. I've resurrected a section of part 3 dealing with receiving messages from ultra-terrestrials in the form of light packets we've seen.
You know, I can't remember how much we've discussed in our in our interactions that have been quite brief, actually, and very intense. But I was listening when I was listening yesterday. You were talking about the how we're in this new place. I believe this is what you're saying. This is what I got out of it. So we're in this new place in the universe, in this photonic belt, right? And so the energies that we're receiving are much more intense, much more strong, and that it's all about the Earth's ascension. It really has nothing to do with humanity. We're just kind of going along for the ride if we choose to do so. But what's coming to really what's been called the solar flash, and you were talking about it being some sort of energy. I wasn't able to catch a hold of all of that because I was actually doing a few things at the same time. I was listening to the podcast, trying to multitask. But I was told when I was in Shasta that on solstice we had this huge thing happening, and I was told that I was here to help awaken the kundalini of the planet, the ancient technologies, awaken them, and that I had 2 years to go to as many places around the world as possible to do this, so that when this huge energy comes in, which I wasn't told it was a solar flash, but that's what I saw, that the Earth would be the most open to receive it with the least amount of damage, right, through the physical body of the Earth. And then I was guided to leave. When I left Shasta, I was guided to go to Taos area, New Mexico, to the specific location, the specific lake, and the specific alignment. And then once I got my little star map out, my star app on my phone, and looked, like 7 planets were in complete alignment, like in the complete line above. And I ended up channeling the Great Central Sun, and the message came through. It was so strong. And it was like, it's the work that's needed because this energy is coming through. Like, I'm bringing this energy through to assist the planet in its ascension, but all of this needs to happen beforehand so that it's as smooth as possible, right? And it was just like the energy I felt, the feeling I felt of the importance of it, how this has to happen. And like, this is all meant to be, and this and stuff. It was so strong. It's what propelled me. I just go, okay, I know this is what I have to do, And so when I was listening to you, I was like, oh my God, that's it. And I was told I have 2 years. We have 2 years. Is that
It's
kind of
funny
your
you
time
say
frame?
that. Somebody, I want to say 2 days ago, in my opinion, this shit could happen tomorrow, as far as I know. But somebody else mentioned this window, and she asked me, how do you feel? Because something has resonated with me that this is going to happen sometime between now and 2022 and 2024. That matches exactly what you're telling me. So I resonate with, it's around the corner. And
Yeah.
every time we talk about planning something into the future, half of me says, we're never going to get there for that. And then the other part says, no, these are steps that need to be taken prior. I can see that all of this is setting a foundation for us to not change people's minds. Frankly, too late for that. But the rest of us that are awake, we're going to try and wake you up as quickly as we can. And that's why more people are coming around to this.
Latest activity here does show some movement out into the California area, specifically underneath Lake Tahoe. Got a decent swarm of earthquake activity stirring up here earlier this morning, and more notably following this large earthquake down south here. It seems a little odd, right, to see an uptick in earthquake activity following a large event thousands of miles away. But yeah, I don't believe in coincidence out here. I believe that is somewhat related. We did see that 6.2 stir up here at about 1953 my time here, right? California time. 1953, a few minutes later, it seems as though when that seismic wave maybe reached the California area, because you got to remember you got the primary wave from an earthquake and a surface wave. I believe these surface waves have triggered a swarm of earthquakes up here across the Lake Tahoe area. Or maybe continued this swarm, because it did start off earlier this morning, but notably that 3.4 occurring minutes after that large earthquake there into the Middle America Trench underneath the Guatemala area. So since then, we've been kind of rocking and rolling here underneath the Lake Tahoe area. The largest, a 3.4, couple twos in there, even another three-pointer in the mix, and they're coming in left and right. Something of noteworthy activity out here, I believe, is about ready to happen underneath the Lake Tahoe area. Now, it's a little concerning, right? It's a major body of water, and man, is there some high-dollar homes out here across South Lake Tahoe and all around the area. So, someone mentioned if this is a volcano. Is Lake Tahoe a collapsed volcano? No, it is not, according to some of the geologists and whatnot that mention about it. There's a whole article here on how it was formed. The basin was actually formed by the rise and fall of the landscape due to faulting, typical faulting out here over time, of course. Now, there's something of a little concern here, because this area is very capable of producing a 7.3 earthquake and tsunamis up to about 30 feet. That's 10 meters high. That right there, a 30-foot tsunami, would definitely devastate all those nice homes out there that are positioned around this lake here. $1 million homes along the line, the shore there. And what's very scary, read down a little bit further. This is actually an article from livescience.com. I'll include it if you guys want to read it. Earthquakes strike every 3,000 to 4,000 years on the fault here around Lake Tahoe. And the most recent shaker was about 4,500 years ago, indicating that the fault is overdue for another earthquake. So, we're talking about a 7.3 possible earthquake out here with a 30-foot tsunami around Lake Tahoe area. Now, yeah, I mean, that's a long time ago. Last one was 4,500 years ago, and the average intervals run about 3,000 to 4,000. So what does that tell you? It tells you and me and everyone else out there that this is well overdue for a big earthquake.
Evolved humans were able to receive information and instructions through our third eye. During the fall of Atlantis and the rise of Anunnaki slave lords, we lost these sovereign abilities. Only now, after many thousands of years of awakening, spiritual training, and assistance from other highly advanced humans from other worlds, are we now just beginning to take possession once again of our sovereign soul abilities and gifts. CLPT and physical visits once again are saving our species. Light entering the eye and reaching the retina, traveling along the optic nerve and into what's known as the limbic system. Our occipital lobes receive this visual information and pass it through the parietal lobes. Our neural connections and synapses respond to light stimuli. Light-based information is stored electrochemically within the regions which control every aspect of cognition. The dendrites, the branching extensions which receive signals from other neurons. The soma, or the cell body, the central part of the neuron which contains the nucleus and the cell's genetic materials. Mitochondria, the fatty lipids, the powerhouse for cell-generating energy. Endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, which is a network of near-microscopic tubules and flattened sacs involved with protein synthesis and transport. All of these things travel along the axons, the long, slender extensions that carry signals away from the cell body to other neurons or to muscles and glands. When your thoughts are examined by some higher species, they are able to follow the interior tunnel formation of a typical dendrite. In doing so, are able to see and know all information you possess. They can record memories of other humans you know, and find out where they are, where they live, and who they are for similar advanced contact of your friends or just to observe them from a distance. This is how they do it. They contact people you know and observe them through your own personal memories.
So after we talk about CLPT and CLPF, I'm going to talk a little bit about the dynamics of thermography, thermal light transmissions, compression and annealing of math packages to light photons, how that is done. I have a diagram of one of the tools that they use to anneal information to photons, and then also I have information about the transmission device that's on board most of the ships that send us this information.
So here I've drawn a little hiker guy, and he's got a flashlight in his hand. And there's the mountains. And here in the distance, above the horizon, you'll see a ship. There's a blue light beam coming down, and it's pretty much attenuating this whole area of the observer's head. So this is communication with light pulses. And it's very interesting what happens to human beings when we receive light. You see, you can't see light, can you? Light's always a reflection off of another surface. That's how we're able to distinguish things around us. Light is very beautiful. It's nice to have. It can be warm. It can be cold. It can be subdued. It can be subtle, or it can be intense and very bright. But when we are sitting or standing 10 miles away from an interstellar conveyance and they want to get your attention, one of the best ways to do that is to flash a light in your face, much like this little flashlight here. And I know that a lot of us have taken a laser pointer out at night and shown it up in the sky at what you think is a ship or what may be a ship in order to get their attention too. So in a lot of ways, it's sort of like a copycat game, isn't it? So here a ship is sending a light beam down to this observer who's standing up in the mountains looking up at the sky. Let's see if I can get this without collapsing the whole scenario. There we go. That's all right. Actually, I'll just do this and make it easier. There we go. All right, so here's a close-up of the ship, and you can see this line here is representing a ray or a beam of light. Now, what I've done is I've exploded that beam of light to probably 1,000 times its size, and I've drawn it as horizontal lines going across. There's many, 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 many horizontal lines. Each one of those horizontal lines represents one photon of light, almost like a disk. So every light disk is a complete logogram or pictogram scenario. On each of those light disks, or each of those photons, is a series of sequence of mathematic numbers, symbols, shapes, geometric shapes, lines, It could be micro photographs of something, but each photon carries with it a message that's highly coordinated. The first of the lines, the first of the photaic light that enters your eye, carries with it a trigger or a switch. That means that the information that's encoded in the first series of perhaps 100 to 500 photons is an attenuating signal that will travel into your parietal lobes, become processed, and then your parietal lobes will send that through the diencephalon, and your diencephalon will transfer that information to the part of the brain which it is encoded for. Fascinating and interesting as it may seem, when we receive a light pulse or a light flash, it triggers several things in the human mind immediately. It triggers the need to recognize it, it triggers the need to understand it, and it triggers the need to either remember it or get rid of it. And in this case, when we see a stream of light in a flash, that one flash of light has many, many millions of photons in it. And it has a beginning and an end. Unlike other things in reality, light has a beginning and an end. It depends on the transmission. So the first several 100 or 200 or 500 mechanisms that are embedded into the light photons are a trigger which tell the parietal lobes in your mind which enzyme to be either produced through your limbic system or which amino acids to charge electrically and send down the diencephalon, which is a very long sort of tubular portion of the brain that sits beneath the center of your cerebrum. Every light model is encapsulated within a light disk. So the triggering light that comes into your eye tells your brain that this is a message. It tells your brain where to store the message, and it tells your brain what enzymatic response or what amino acid response or both are needed in order to attenuate the message to the proper region of your mind. As we get further and further along into these encoded photon packages, many pieces of individual information of different nature can be added to this message. And as light travels, the whole information package can be downloaded through your eye in a matter of 1 second or less. Whatever the amount of time it takes for a flash of light or a beam of light to enter your eye and to finish. Because obviously you'll know when the light beam is finished when there's no more light. That last photaic message you receive is the end trigger, and that last part of the flash of light will have the encoding to let your mind know to either expect more light triggers or that was the end of the message.